All right, let's dive into something that can feel a little tricky sometimes, like how do you build a really strong professional reputation?
Mhm.
And, today we're kind of adding another layer to that, right? We're looking at it through this lens of neurodiversity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we are cracking open week 3 of the Neurodivergent Career Navigator program. And just as a reminder, this is a coaching program designed by neurodivergent professionals, specifically for neurodivergent professionals.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like, I don't know, maybe the way your brain is wired isn't always understood in a professional setting, or like, your strengths aren't really being seen the way you'd like?
Definitely. I think we've all been there.
Well, this deep dive is all about giving you those tools to shape how you're perceived at work, but in a way that really plays to your unique strengths.
Yeah. What I find so interesting, at least from this program, is how often, you're told, just do good work. It'll speak for itself.
Oh,
It'll speak for itself.
yeah.
But this program really throws that old adage right out the window.
It does. There's this whole section where they're like, myth number 1, and it's that whole like, good work speaks for itself. And I was like, yes, like we've all been there.
Right.
You pour your heart and soul into something, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And they're reminding us, it's like, okay, we can't control exactly how other people see us or perceive us, but we definitely can influence it.
Right.
Like we can be strategic and take ownership over how we present ourselves professionally.
Yeah, so it's less about hoping they'll figure it out
Right.
and more about like building that reputation proactively.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how they start the whole thing too. They jump right into this exercise about self-reflection,
Okay.
asking, what 3 words do you want to define your professional reputation?
Hmm.
Like, if you weren't in the room, what would you want your colleagues to say about you?
Oh, that is such a good question to really sit with, too. Don't worry, we're not going to put you on the spot.
But
Right.
seriously, jot those words down because it's like powerful stuff.
It is.
So you've got those words, right? Those like perfect words to describe you professionally. Now, how do we actually build towards that?
Yeah, so this program, it like breaks it down into these really like doable steps.
Okay.
And what I really like is that they like always remember to think about things from, that neurodivergent viewpoint.
Give me an example. Like, what's a strategy that really stuck out to you?
Okay, so one of their big things is this idea of like human first, tasks second.
Okay.
And when you first hear that, you might be like, well, duh. But like they go deeper, right? They're thinking about how neurodivergent people might like build relationships differently.
Totally. Because like we always hear networking is key or, build relationships. But
Yes.
it's not always super clear what that looks like if you don't exactly, love typical social situations. Right, exactly. Like let's say someone is autistic
Yeah.
and small talk is like really hard for them. Instead of like forcing a long conversation, they say just focus on being genuine.
Okay.
Like maybe just a quick compliment on their work and then like, okay, here's the project brief.
Oh, I love that. It's like finding your own way to connect, even if it's not like the usual way.
Right. Or like remembering names can be hard.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
suggest like visual aids. Maybe you're in a meeting and you jot down notes next to people's names. It's about working with your brain and not, against
He's
it.
so good. It's about like figuring out what works for you and then adapting.
Exactly. And this kind of goes with another big idea from them, sincerity and authenticity.
Yeah.
They talk about this a lot.
Yeah, because it's so easy to feel like you have to mask at work?
Exactly. And they're like, no, don't do that. Instead, just be upfront about your communication style. You could just say, like, hey, I'm better with written stuff, so I'll email you a summary later.
Okay, but I love that because that helps everyone? Like,
Right.
like you're communicating really well and your coworkers know what to expect.
Exactly. And they had this example. One person in the program, they were super detail-oriented, and they decided to be really upfront about needing deadlines.
Okay,
And it actually really helped their team out.
I bet. Because instead of it being like, ugh, why does this person need a deadline for this? It becomes like a good thing.
Right. And it turned out their manager was really structured too, so it was this win-win.
Wow.
Yeah, and it all came from being upfront about, how they work best.
That's amazing. And it's like what we were saying before, right? About not being afraid to share your strengths, but like do it humbly,
Right. So maybe that means not over-explaining or over-apologizing. Like let's say you're someone who tends to get really focused on details.
which is like a lot of us, let's be honest.
Totally. Instead of getting stuck on every little thing, they say just focus on, making progress.
Oh, I like that. Progress over perfection.
Yes. Exactly. So, like, instead of saying, oh, here's this report, but I'm not sure if it's perfect, you could say,
I've made a lot of progress on this report. Want to hear the key findings so far?
yeah, exactly. It's all about focusing on those positives.
It's funny, right? We hear so much about, like, just be yourself, especially at work.
Yeah,
But then it feels like there's all this pressure to, fit in.
totally.
And that's not always so easy when you're neurodivergent. But this program gets it.
Yeah, they really do. And I think you see that most clearly in how they talk about communication at work.
Totally. Like a whole section dedicated to communication, right?
Yeah, yeah. And they just address head on that, like, people communicate differently.
Yes. That's what I loved about it. It's like they're not afraid to say that we might communicate differently, and that's okay.
Right. And it's not even just like, oh, it's okay to be different. It's like, how do we work with that? How do we make those differences work for us?
Yes. So, for example, let's say someone is super direct when they communicate, which, that's not uncommon, especially for us neurodivergent folks. How does the program handle that?
They actually encourage it. So instead of like, beating around the bush or trying to soften feedback, they're like, just be clear.
Okay.
Like instead of maybe it'd be good to look at that again, just say, I recommend revising this.
Oh, I love that direct approach. Get it done, be efficient, be respectful of everyone's time.
Exactly. But on the flip side, for someone who loves details,
Mm-hmm.
who likes to be thorough,
Mm-hmm.
they talk about providing context. So like, don't just send a random list of bullet points. Explain your thinking a little.
Oh, that's good. So it's not about changing who you are. It's more about framing how you communicate.
Exactly. And it goes even deeper. They talk a lot about being transparent about your intentions. Like they even have example scripts for it.
Oh, give me an example. I love a good script.
So say you're in a meeting and you're feeling a little lost. Like you're not sure how to contribute. It happens, right? Instead of just being quiet, you could say something like, just to be upfront, I'm still processing this. Would it be helpful if I shared my thoughts later in an email?
Ooh, I love that because it acknowledges what's going on, but it's also proactive.
Exactly. No more guesswork.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about like building your reputation and the positive stuff, but what about when things go wrong?
Yeah,
Because we're human, right? We all mess up sometimes.
for sure. And this program actually like dives right into that.
Okay, tell me more about their approach.
It's all about reframing mistakes as like these opportunities to learn.
Okay.
So less about being perfect and more about owning it when you make a mistake.
It's so easy to get defensive, though. At least for me, it is.
Totally. But this program, they say, resist that urge. They actually give you a step-by-step guide on what to do when you make a mistake.
Ooh, okay. Break it down for me.
Step 1, own it. Don't wait for someone else to notice. Just acknowledge it right away.
Oh, that takes courage, though.
For sure. But that builds trust in the long run. Then be honest. Like what happened? What's the impact?
So, no sugarcoating.
No sugarcoating. After that, apologize. And not just a quick sorry, but like a real apology.
Show that you get it.
Yes.
Sure.
Sure you understand how it affected others. Then, and this is where it gets really good, you propose a solution. Like, how are you going to fix it? How are you going to make sure it doesn't happen again?
You're not just saying sorry, you're showing that you're going to do better.
Exactly. And finally, you followed up to make sure everything is actually working.
It's a whole process, but it makes so much sense.
It does, right.
Huh.
And really, all of this, it goes back to having a good support system.
Yeah, you don't have to do this all alone, right?
Exactly.
Hmm.
This program, they really emphasize having those people you can turn to, right?
Mhm.
Colleagues, mentors,
There's
friends.
people who get you.
Yes. People who get you and who you can go to for advice, for support, or even just to vent.
Hmm.
Because we all need that sometimes.
I love that. We're not robots. We're human. And it's about recognizing that we're all in this together. Asking for help, that's not weak, that's human.
Yes, 100%. And that's really the heart of what this whole program is about, You deserve a great professional reputation. You deserve to feel confident and be your authentic self at work.
It's not about fitting in, it's about bringing your whole self to the table, neurodiversity and all, because that's what makes you, you. And that is something to celebrate. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I hope you're feeling empowered. You've got this.